Hey everyone, welcome to the Wendy Cooper Show, Conversations with Remarkable People. I'm your host, Wendy Cooper, and today my guest is Craig Burnie Burns. He is the owner of OnsetLighting.com. He has been a gaffer, which means a lighter, for probably the past 25 years. He is a great guest. Super high energy. I've never worked with Burnie, but we have worked with a lot of the same people. I took the liberty to edit this show down like I do with so many of my conversations I have with people. The full version of this is on my YouTube channel, which you can find very easily by going to YouTube and putting in Wendy Cooper Show. I do want to say, though, that I am getting a little bit more creative in how I put together and edit my interviews. There's just a lot of stuff here, an hour and a half. I got to cut it down. I have to cut it down to about 30 minutes and make it for your listening pleasure. So here I go.
You look beautiful. You look beautiful. Actually, when I saw you, were you ever an extra?
I was never, ever an extra. I was always a host, but I was never an extra, or I was the executive producer or the producer or whatever it might be. But I moved on. I really needed to move on from any of this chit-chat stuff that's on the YouTube version. So here we go. Moving on.
Oh, Greg. So you know Greg, sure, and Tom Mcdonald?
From this too. I had to put that in there because I had to prove to you.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I know. Can you imagine where we're going with this?
Tom Mcdonald. Do you know this, any part of this story?
Nope.
I mean, Tom Mcdonald.
And you can listen to that on YouTube.
That is amazing, because Tom Mcdonald was the guy who got me the first job as a $50 a day PA.
Which is a production assistant, but that changed his life forever.
Greg Kendricks did not hire me very often, which both of those things are and if they would have, I probably never would have bought a piece of gear. But because I was like the third guy out, I started buying gear, put it in a little van, right? And in 10-year time, I became the biggest grip and lighting company south of Los Angeles.
Website, OnsetLighting.com. There isn't anything that you can't order from this guy, if for production reasons, right? For lighting reasons. Okay, we're moving on. I want to set this next thing up. It's like I was starting to feel bad that I had never really worked with him over the years, but I had worked with Tom and Kendrick. And I ever worked with him. And my excuse basically, and it's the truth, they are shooters, they're DPs. I really lean on my team. I lean on my editor. I lean on my directors of photography. I like their input. I like for them to be Greg Kendrick. And I really worked closely together on a lot of directing the cast. And I always appreciated that because I was wearing a lot of hats when I was doing production. So this is his answer to me basically saying, but hey, wait a minute, you weren't a shooter, were you?
No, I don't operate camera and shoot. And there was a very, I learned it in the marketplace. I didn't I didn't know this going in. I was a gaffer. And what I found was there was much more work for a gaffer who could service a director of photography, especially if you own gear, than there was for somebody that was a DP and just tried to get his gear on all of those things. So I learned that in the marketplace, and it really served me well.
Biggest struggles that you'll ever have in production as a creative director or an art director or a lighting director is understanding the vision of the client. It's very difficult to get inside the brain of the client?
Well, I think that's probably a very big missing link is client education on how you define what you need and then hire the appropriate crew. I realized early on when I was coming into this and I was starting to talk to people, and I was using all my own skills that I had developed in business, to do on my own thing. One of the first things I learned is nobody knows what production is. They certainly have no idea about lighting. Almost every single person is referring to lighting in the as exposure. That's how they think of it. That we're lighting them to get the picture on the camera. You know what I mean? And it's so much more diverse than that. I learned that my biggest part of my job was client education. And so I just approached it like that. And I would educate people on why they needed something. I would interpret from them what I thought they needed, and I would say why, and really try hard to hone down in really what they needed. Also, and I'm sure you have experienced this quite well, what is the biggest thing, that reference point that people have to refer to in production? It is only movies and television. So they make all those references like, I want it to look like the West Wing. I want it to look like that scene in Gone with the Wind. I'm just throwing things out there now. But that is, you have to be able, in our minds, to interpret what they are talking about.
Right. I used to ask people all the time, to give me examples, because I do have to know what they're thinking or what they're envisioning. Most of the times I would have written what I was producing, and so I had a vision, right? And that would be me speaking with you, with the director of photography, on what I needed the mood to be, the feeling to be, what was the energy, or what was the brand message that I was trying to get across in the feeling of what was being created on set.
All media is emotion. It doesn't work with logic. It's all about how you feel about something, not what you think about something. So I start with the thing of, first, really, what is your ultimate goal? What are you trying to sell? And I don't ask them those questions, but this is what I'm thinking in my own head. I'm saying, so I will ask them, what kind of product is it? If we're in a kitchen, I've got to already know that this is probably going to be, and I'm just going to say it's going to probably relate to a female demographic, and I just want to know, and what they will want every single time is, you want a good looking kitchen. You want to feel like morning, not afternoon. You want that. So I'm thinking in those terms of like how to get the feel that puts it back. And for everything that I do, the last thing I worry about is lighting the person. I'm always thinking about what is the background, because the background, I know I can light the person. I know I can make it as soft as can be, really warm and nice, or hard and strong, masculine. I can do that, no problem. I want to know about the background, and I want to get that right first, because that's going to deliver the message.
And then that all has to fit really nicely into this frame of the camera. It's interesting to watch people not understand that it's what's in frame that matters. Nothing else in the world matters except for what's in frame.
When you come on set and people do that, and this is something I had to get used to, and I was, like I said, I was older when I got on set, is like, doesn't that matter? And no, It's not on frame. It actually does not exist in that world, in your world. You know what I mean? And it's something to get used to, because your decision-making process has a lot to do with lighting. About, I can put a light there, it's not in frame, right? So yeah, all of that works.
This is where I asked Burnie about, we talked a little bit about budgets, and I just have this to say to my listening audience. The key is, as a producer, as a writer, as an art director, as a wardrober, as all of that, but mostly as a producer, I have a budget. And I know, and then as a writer, because I always wrote everything that I produced, so I would write to my budget. I would write to my production budget. It used to be, a ladder shot versus a helicopter shot, or now a drone shot. Now you can use a drone shot and it's cheap. But it used to be a very big difference if a client was thinking, from a helicopter point of view, I would have to do that from a ladder, depending on their budget. So always be very upfront about your budget, because that really determines everything else.
Yes. And that is quite common. I mean, so many times the budget will not allow you to do that. And then you're cutting, I won't say cutting corners, but you're simplifying it. You know what I mean? Where you're not taking care of all of the details, And frankly, sometimes there's not even the reason to go into that much detail. But if it's going to get a lot of airplay, then you want to go and take more time in the details. If it's not, and you're simply giving more message involved, you know what I mean, which I personally think will not be as effective, then, it's going to be what it is. You're going to just use the time. So many times you're doing something that's going to be a 3-day shoot, but you've got 4 hours to light it. And you're doing fixes all the time. So as you go through, you're not discernibly changing the set, but you're fixing all your little problems. But the fact that you have to have them in the first place.
Exactly. And you know what? In the end, that just takes up more time, I think. Or you get into post and you say, why didn't we do it then? It was just, it was an easy fix. But here's the point. It's really just about the budget. Make sure you have the right budget. If you're going to work on a small budget, you got to cut corners. You just do. You just do.
Funny, in the process of how you're doing it, there's no shoot that I've been on that I've ever taken for granted. Now, I got more comfortable as my career went on and I did all that, you know what I mean? And time again, I knew I was going to solve problems.
I remember showing up on set and there was no monitors for me to look at. And I was shooting, oh my gosh, I can't imagine. But I said, where are the monitors? I can't do product sweep shots. I can't do anything without a monitor. Where is my monitor? And someone said, you didn't ask for one. And I said, I need to ask for one? And since that point in time, boy, I asked for 3 or 4. I'm telling you. Calibration sometimes is a bit of a difficulty. But here's Burnie's thoughts on monitors.
Well, I'm so glad to hear you say that, because most of the time, and up to this day, I'm working off of many times I'm behind the DP looking at the little flip out camera monitor, and I'm doing this. And when I'm looking at a monitor, of course I'm looking at the lighting, but I'm looking at the whole frame too. Is there a C-stand leg in there? Is there a cord that's just creeping into the bottom? Because all that stuff makes a big difference, in the final product.
Monitors are tricky because you have to know what you're looking for in the monitor. You're not using it really for color or for lighting.
This is another thing. I never trust the monitor. You know what I mean? You can't trust the monitor. I'll trust the eyepiece and look in the camera like that, because I know that's going to be the closest thing adjusted, but monitors are all over the place, and you're making judgments on brightness and stuff like that. And you can't do that because it's not, you have to take your meter out and go with the meter and see exactly what that says. But so many times I've taken a meter out and go, are we almost done? Because they see me now with a meter and they think I'm taking more time than I need.
Okay, there is so much more of that conversation in the unedited version on YouTube. So just go to the Wendy Cooper Show on YouTube. When you're there, you can see I have like hundreds of things there dating all the way back to, I think, 2008. I don't know, but it's pretty comical. All right, we're going to jump now to today's world. And what Burnie's advice is to anyone that is trying to get into production or market themselves in today's social media world. Here we go.
Right now, let me speak to the world we're in at this moment. You had better be learning something new every single day. We are in the golden age of opportunity. We've all seen what's going on. There is going to be crew cut back, and that's not just because of COVID. It's COVID and technology. There you can remotely operate camera and lighting from anywhere in the world on any set in the world. I could be in Los Angeles, the DP could be in England, and the studio could be in Dubai, and we could light and operate camera. That doesn't mean you don't have anybody on set. It just means you have less people on set. You have people, maybe a camera assistant and somebody powering the lighting and positioning it. If you throw robotics into the mix, okay, then maybe you don't even have anybody that has to position anything. Maybe you could have a battery pack robotic stand that would have a battery on it that would last long enough for all day. They don't, as of our industry doesn't have those right now, but how far away is it? When you're talking about getting less people on set, you know what I mean? How far are we away from having that solution? So the amount of people are going down on set, and the people that will survive are only the top 1% and 2%. The 3%, third percent, along with the other 97 of them, are going down. That it's going to be only the best. And that you are going to have to continually be educating yourself and continually demonstrating that your knowledge base to your market. So in other words, if I'm learning something new every day and I'm challenging myself and I'm running across new things, new ideas, I want you, Wendy, the producer, to see that through social media or wherever you're shopping at. I want you to know that I'm the guy that knows that, because if I can pre-sell myself and my knowledge to you, you're going to buy that.
Here. And I like it because I've interviewed so many people and we've had kind of the same conversation, but a little bit different. And what it all boils down to is at any age, more so if you're older, but now because of COVID and being kind of pushed out of the old way and into a new way, we must develop our skill set. And there are so many ways to do that by being online and developing skills. I, for one, I'm developing a skill of recording my podcast now out of a studio and in my home studio. I've had to learn how to do that. I am now learning and have learned how to edit my podcast along with dialogue editing, which is a skill, and sound design. And record and narrate, right? I come from a live streaming place in talk radio, and that means there's no do-overs, there's no editing, there's none of that. But I'm also a producer of video content for 20 years, and so I understand, well, how am I going to blend these skills together? And now, of course, I'm also doing my own narration of many different things. So I am looking into the future of, voice. Podcasting is very big. I've been in this space a long time, but how can I hone my skills, be able to work from home, and no one really care how old I am, as long as I can deliver on my promise of the skills and knowledge that I have to offer. And then I need to let people know that those skills are available from me. And this is what Burnie is saying that everyone needs to do. Because it's not so easy, because a lot of people get afraid of what it means to stream, or they just feel not technically capable. And he's one of them, actually. And so I agree. Easier said than done. And there are a lot of nuances to being able to put your face out to the world also.
But I always say this. For the people who think that, anybody can do it, right? So there's no opportunity out there. If you took 100 people, put them on one side of the line, all those 100 people wanted to live stream, and they've got a reason to live stream. Now you separate the people that, one, can talk about a vision, bring a guest on, put stuff up on the screen live, and carry the show through and book guests and do on that, you will end up with no more than 10 people on the other side of that line. That's 90 people who still have good content, all of that need services. So most people in this world, when they hear live stream, even computer, you know what I mean? Or you do it in computer, they blank out. And almost it's impossible for them to learn because they're so blanked out.
I don't know if they're blanked out, but there's a whole lot more to this conversation. We are only at 22 minutes edited, and there was 1 hour and 27 minutes of conversation with Burnie. Okay, we talked about so many things. So if you really want to hear that, once again, I'm just going to tell you, go to my YouTube channel. And I'm not just trying to drive you there. It's just, it was a Zoom video recording, and I'm just going to throw that up on YouTube. It was a lot of stuff. And let's see now. Oh, I know what's coming up. I'm rubbing my hands together. I want to talk a little bit to Burnie about the proper use of a ring light, because I find that most people do not use a ring light properly the way it's supposed to be used, which is to have your phone inside the ring light so it shows an even amount of light around your face, which makes you look awesome. Now, I was telling him about because I'm on my laptop when I'm talking to him, and he tells me how great I look. So I showed him a photograph of my hacked job of how I created something so that I could use my standard ring light in front of my laptop and make it so my laptop was basically like a phone sitting inside of my ring light. It's pretty cool. And it really works. And the difference is amazing. If you want to see the difference, yeah, you got it. You have to watch the YouTube video. Okay? And I believe it's right at the top of the show, so you'll be able to see that. Anyway, here's what Burnie had to say about ring lights, which, by the way, they're not supposed to light your rooms. Okay? They're just not supposed to do that. Get a different light if you're going to do that. Get the right kind of lights if you're going to do that. They're not that expensive. Call Burnie if you want to do that. Anyway, here's Burnie.
Ring light is a very useful tool when it's being used like you're using it, but it's not for every application. You know what I mean? It will emit light. So if you just want to get broad light on something, that's the way to go. It's a good invention. It's something that, KinoFlow had a light like that fit over the lens a while back. I have done hacks where I've taken a white card, put KinoFlows around the white card, cut a hole in it to put the lens through, and get the same type of look. it's a very efficient tool when used for what you need to use it for. You know what I mean? I find people generally make the mistake of having, unless they have no light, they have too much light. I don't know how many people I have seen. I mean, the worst stuff I've seen has been on cable TV and all these news shows where they're interviewing people from their home. I can't believe it. You know how they treat the CEO in these corporations when you're making an infomercial or something. You know, that's the star. Yet, these marketing people let them go out on these shows, not even lit, horrible sound.
I kind of agree. I complain about it all the time. I have actually stopped complaining about it because I realize it's just the way that it is. Because as you'll see, they just don't know the difference. They just don't know, and they don't know how to fix it, so they just let it be.
Hey, you know why they don't? They don't know what makes it work. They go into a studio and they look good. They never think about it after that. And it's for time and time upon whatever, no general manager knows what makes the lighting look good. They know how much the lighting cost. That's all they know about it, and they want the cheapest price.
That COVID and everybody having to shift gears and learn how to do things remotely, there's a reason behind why things look so bad. But there are, a few simple golden rules that you can lift your laptop up, look straight into the camera, sit in front of a window.
Sure.
It's so
simple. It's so simple.
Make these little adjustments, back for my laptop right now. Which, by the way, everybody, you can see on the YouTube full-length video.
With most people, and I tell this to anybody, if you're streaming or something like that, they stop when they look at themselves. They never, ever, ever look at that background. They never think, how can I improve that? It's usually taking light away more often than it is adding light. Usually you're hurting things by adding light. And so I think that is the thing. But look, lighting is the biggest voodoo black magic that is out there in our industry. Everybody's afraid of it.
My final transition sound effect for this episode. I want to thank you for listening, and I'm about to toss it over to Burnie for Burnie to tell you where you can get a hold of him. And I will be right back after that.
My companies are, one is onsetlighting.com. That is my sales site. So we sell, I think we have we have thousands of products and things for all production related. My other one is burniesgripandlighting.com, and that is my rentals. So I send trucks and crews out there to help with your production. We work local all through Los Angeles, Orange County, and San Diego. So we're local everywhere, And my social media sites are, of course, Craig Burnie Burns on Facebook, Onset Lighting on Facebook. And on LinkedIn, I've got a lot going on over on LinkedIn. I'd say LinkedIn is turning into my number one platform right now. Yeah. It's business to business. It's very good. Got a lot of good feedback over there. So please come join me on LinkedIn. That's probably the best place to get a hold of me.
I love the way Burnie said goodbye to me. So I'm going to share that with you right
Wendy,
now.
Thank you. I thank you so much. All right.
Well, that wraps it up for today. This was an edited version of a full-length conversation with Craig Burnie Burns and of onsetlighting.com, and you can find him everywhere, all over the place. LinkedIn, Facebook, you name it, he said it, you can find it. As for me, thanks for listening, and I hope you do watch the full-length episode or video of this conversation. It's very different. I did take a lot of liberties with the editing. I did not make anyone say anything they did not actually say. So 30 minutes, there it is. It's turning 30 right about now. So thanks for listening. This has been the Wendy Cooper Show, conversations with remarkable people. I am your host, and I will be back next time, and I hope you do listen. Music by Tom Orsi of Orsi Digital Post. This is a production of C Spot Run Productions, editor, narration, producer, everything else. That's right, by me, Wendy Cooper. Thanks for listening.